we want to make sure that we find as many of these opportunities for customers, and we make it easy to see. So this allows us to quickly filter down to say, oh, these are the clusters that need our attention, right? They're getting a lot of searches, so your customers care about it, but it also is not getting clicked a lot. So there has to be some issue there with engagement. And so we want to make it super easy for someone to come to the screen and just completely understand what's going on.
Welcome to Powered by Snowflake, where I interview technology leaders building businesses and applications on Snowflake. I'm your host, Daniel Myers, and today I'm talking with Mike Peralta, product lead of analytics at Yext. Yext is the AI search company, which offers a modern AI-powered answers platform that understands natural language so that when people ask questions about a business online, they get direct answers, not just links. Mike, how are you today?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well. So I want to learn more about your background and your role at Yext.
Yeah, so I've been at Yikes for about almost 9 years now. I actually was my first job out of school. So I graduated in 2013 and started working here when it was about a 200-person company. And we were primarily focused at the time on one product called listings. We've grown a lot since then. But yeah, since then I started out in a data operations role. From there, grew to take over the business intelligence team or start the business intelligence team here at Yext. Was working on our search product for a little bit, and then finally took over analytics and all the kind of customer-facing analytics that we see in the platform today. So yeah, a bunch of different kind of data roles over time, and it's been fun.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. So explain to me what exactly is an AI-powered search platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think one of the things that we noticed is that we, over time, had a bunch of this data about our customers and their businesses and all of the things that people would want from Google, but we didn't have a way to power that same type of experience on people's own sites, right? So like they would, if someone wanted to get information about business, they'd have to go to Google or Bing or some other search engine to get information. That gave people an opportunity, customers an opportunity to get sniped by other businesses, right? Because they're showing up in search like everybody else. One of the things that customers really own is their own site, and being able to deliver answers on that site and being able to help people like get the kind of same experience that we expect from Google, but in a place where you fully own is super important. And so we thought that was kind of an interesting place to get into. And because we had all this data already about these businesses, it was kind of a natural extension of what we were already doing.
That's cool to hear. You know, you mentioned that you were one of the first 200 or so employees. You've been here for 9 years. That's amazing. So, you know, looking at it, you know, you've been there since before IPO. How
Right.
have you seen, you know, the progress and kind of the over time improvement of Yext, and how has going IPO changed, you know, the roadmap?
Yeah, it's been really cool to see. I mean, it was interesting. Like I said, when we first started, it was kind of a single product company for the most part, and focused entirely kind of on listings and, you know, getting our information out in Google and places like that. But kind of as the company's grown, I think we've realized like there's kind of all these other places that we can sit for businesses. Like we have all this information. It's just about like making it accessible to people. And so we've started to find other areas like developing web pages for people, doing site search for people, all these kind of tangential things, which kind of all expand on the same idea of like, we have data, customers want their consumers to find it. So like, how can we do that? So it's been cool to see like how we've continued to be able to expand from kind of a very like core idea. As far as like how's the company changed, it's interesting. I mean, at 200 people, it was kind of a very small company. It was very close. We all were in one office in New York. And, you know, as the company grows, you start having more people, you start having more offices and stuff. And so it's interesting to see how that scales over time and how you go from being kind of like this small little scrappy startup to like, you know, a public company. So I'd say kind of culture changes are probably the biggest thing, although I think we've done pretty well with that. And I think besides that, you know, I would say not much has changed. I think the IPO is a cool moment for us because it's like pre and post IPO, you feel like a much more mature company. It is like a big step in a company's life cycle. But I think, you know, it's kind of just a day on the calendar after a while. Like you do it, you become public, and then you have to keep executing on what you were doing before. So
awesome. And so, you know, with Yext being built on Snowflake, can you talk about, you know, kind of how that architecture is, you know, happens, and kind of dive into a little bit on the process that you use for ingesting data and the application solution that you built with Yext.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We have a lot of different ways that we can get data at Yext, and it kind of depends on the product and the way and the service we're offering. And even in within some of those products, we may be getting data in different ways. At the end of the day, that all ends up in Snowflake. But as an example, for our listings product, we kind of have two tiers of search engines that we sync or syndicate data to. Some are like very large, like Google, Bing, and they have their own APIs, which we need to build kind of integrations with to pull that data out of there and then store it in our platform so that our customers can see how they're performing there. In other cases, though, we will work with very small publishers who don't have that kind of infrastructure, and we have our own pixel or integration on their site that can stream data from them in real time. And so we can get that analytics out of those publishers as well. So those are kind of two cases where we'll either use an API or maybe a pixel integration to get data. But that's mainly for kind of third-party stuff. There's a whole host of stuff that we have that's kind of more first-party. And so that would be our sites product, which allows people to create websites and to kind of distribute information about their business. And then also our search product, which allows people to have that AI search we were talking about on their websites. And so both of those things are kind of first-party products that we have a lot more control over collecting data. So similarly, we have endpoints and that allow us to collect data from there, and that data also ends up getting streamed into Snowflake as well. So a lot of it is just either ETLs that we're using for third-party tools, or kind of our own pixel integrations that allow us to kind of get data off of these sites immediately and then send them straight over to Snowflake.
Cool. That's cool to hear. Can we see a demo today?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of features that we have today in the platform that are all analytics related and are all powered by Snowflake. So like Snowflake sits kind of at the core of all of our analytics, and it's actually expanding a lot to grow to other areas of our business where we're storing much more data. So here, one example of this is a product we call search term clusters. So the goal of this product is to take all of the data that customers are getting on their site search and figure out a way to make sense out of it, right? So depending on the site that you have, you may be getting hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands of searches every day. And people are typing in different things that they want out of your business. And all of that is valuable information. But if we can't figure out a way to take that noise and make it understandable, it's like not helpful. So one of the things we found is we needed a way to take similar kind of questions and things that people are asking and to group those together based on the themes that they represent, because that allows people to scale how they look at their business and then understand how they can use that data to make better decisions. One area that we saw this was huge for was government COVID sites that we had been running, where they got a significant amount of questions, and a lot of them were new, things they'd never seen before. So they needed a way to kind of scale all of these intents that people had, and that's what we were looking to solve here. So we built this product that you're seeing here, which is pretty simple. All it does is it takes machine learning and looks at all the searches that happen on experience and group them together based on their intent. So as you can see here, one we have is talking about duplicates in Yext. So a lot of the times we'll create listings for people, but there may already be a listing out on Google or something that represents a business. And that could be incomplete information. And so we want to claim those things and then remove them from the internet so that only the correct information from the business is powering things. And so in that case, there's a lot of different ways that people can ask questions about that service, right? They can ask, how often do we scan for duplicates? How do we depress them? Kind of all things like that, but they really mean the same thing, right? Customers want to understand how this feature works. They want to understand what we offer in this space. The same could be said for adding an entity, right? An entity is kind of our core object in our platform. So you can think of an entity as a location, like a store around the corner from you, a flower shop. You can think of an entity as a product. It's kind of just our core object that we have in the platform that you can then make accessible on listings, on search, anything like that. And so that's another thing where it's very core for people to understand how this works. And there's a lot of different ways they can ask that. I think one of the things I try to think about is, there's a number of ways that customers can ask for things from you and have questions about your business, but there's really only so many answers. And so the goal is to kind of consolidate all of those questions together so that you can figure out the right answer that answers all of them. So that's what you're seeing here. A lot of this is about taking that data, and as I'm showing here, giving you kind of a cluster level description of it, and then also letting you see what are the things inside of that? What are the things that make it up? So you understand how are these intents related. And once you know that, then you can start looking at metrics like searches, clicks, and click-through rate to see how those things are performing. So you have a better understanding of kind of what are the areas where I need to focus on based on the intent that I'm seeing from my customers. Just one last thing I want to touch on here is that, I think the goal is over time is to make it so that customers have to figure out a lot of this stuff less and less, right? We want to make sure that we find as many of these opportunities for customers, we make it easy to see. And so one of the things we've also done here is automatically categorize kind of the performance of these things based on how frequently they're getting searched and then also their engagement. So this allows us to quickly filter down to say, oh, these are the clusters that need our attention, right? They're getting a lot of searches, so your customers care about it, but it also is not getting clicked a lot. So there has to be some issue there with engagement. And so we want to make it super easy for someone to come to the screen and just completely understand what's going on.
That makes a lot of sense. So as you were building out this platform, right? The data needs for something like this must be pretty immense.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, how and why
you choose Snowflake
to build this platform on top of?
Yeah, it's a good question. So originally we didn't, and that ended up being a little bit of a problem. So originally we were using Elasticsearch to power a lot of this. And the reason for that was that we had been using Elasticsearch in other parts of our product, and it was kind of the easiest to get up and running on. And so we found that that was kind of the best place to get started. One of the issues we found there, though, was that Elasticsearch didn't scale well for very large amounts of data. We were starting to run into issues with the bigger accounts that we had. We couldn't display them all of their data. And the complicated kind of joins and transformations that needed to happen to make a screen like this possible was just not easy to do or even possible using something like Elasticsearch. So we realized we needed kind of a better warehousing solution that would make it easier to get this kind of data out. And a bunch of other stuff that we wanted to enable. And so that kind of was the core thing, is we needed something that had a lot of power behind it, that we knew could handle some of these queries and complicated kind of transformations to make this data available for people.
So when you were evaluating Snowflake, was there a certain process or what were the specific considerations that you had to choose or be mindful of when choosing Snowflake?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple of things. I think one of the main ones was performance. I think an important thing to mention is that we kind of had a fractured ecosystem before Snowflake in terms of where we stored our data, even for analytics cases. So for the screen that I'm showing today, we're mainly focused on data from our search product, and that search product was using Elastic to power its analytics. But for other products, we were using Redshift or maybe other places to power that data. And so depending on the different backends we were using, we kind of had different requirements. For Elastic, a big one was just performance. We needed to make sure that we were able to get the performance that we wanted and that we were able to kind of facilitate the queries and things that we were looking to do. For Redshift, one of the major things we had was maintenance. We found that kind of maintaining our Redshift clusters became a big overhead. Right, we had to spend a lot of time figuring out how large should these clusters be. How do we manage tuning performance on these queries? How do we build tools around it to make sure that we're keeping the uptime we want, or that failing over is very easy? There's a lot of stuff that we actually had to build around Redshift that made it possible to then provide the functionality we wanted. And so in the Redshift case, what we really wanted to do was have a vendor that was much easier to manage. Right. So we didn't have to worry about maintaining these clusters. We didn't have to worry about size. We weren't scared that if we add more data or if we onboard a huge customer that now we need to completely upscale our clusters. We want to be able to just kind of deal with the data we get, make it accessible for our customers, and make it as easy as possible. So I think those are our main things that we were looking at while we were evaluating.
So that's cool to hear, how you've really gone through this journey, right? Previously not on Snowflake, now you're on Snowflake. So that's really cool to hear. You have those battle scars, right?
Yeah.
And so, what's next for Yext here and your role, right? Where do you see Yext, 6 months, 1 year down the line for your customers?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, one of the things that we're trying to do now is make data much more accessible to our customers. So there's a lot of data that we have in our platform that we may be using for internal purposes, but we just don't expose to customers, or we haven't in the past. And part of that is because we haven't had a good way of doing it. And so we have focused on kind of building better APIs that make it easier to get that data out of our platform. But also part of it was that we didn't have a great place to store all that data, right? We didn't have like a home for everything. And so one of the major things that we've done throughout the past year is really make Snowflake kind of the home for everything that is either analytics related or kind of just like long-term data we want to like make this accessible. Stuff that power certain parts of like, more consumer facing applications may use other backends, but we want to make sure at the end of the day that Snowflake kind of is that home where everything sits. And then that gives us one place that we can build infrastructure on top of to make it easy to get out of the platform. And so that's a big focus of ours now is kind of making that kind of data easier to access and making Snowflake kind of the home for everything.
So yeah, really using Snowflake to eliminate those data silos sounds pretty important. And it's exciting to hear that, you mentioned, that you used to, build out kind of these API wrappers around the data, right? But with Snowflake and the native data sharing capabilities, right, it eliminates some of that need, right? And so you can just directly share the customer's data with the customer. So, I mean, that's pretty powerful. From here, for our viewers today, if they want to learn more about Yext and you, where should they go?
Yeah, so we actually over like the past couple of years have developed this hitchhiker community, which is basically kind of our admin community for helping people understand how they use Yext. We put a lot of great content on there about our different products, guides for how to get set up, but then also recommendations for how people can use the product, how they can think about it for the vertical that they're using. So I would say hitchhikers.yext.com is a great place to get started if you're curious about how to dive into the product. And then generally just yext.com is a good place to understand kind of what is our mission for what we're trying to do, what are the different areas we're focusing on, so you can get a better understanding of what we do at Yext. So I'd say those are probably the two best places for you guys to find out more about us.
That's great. And Mike, I want to say thank you for joining me today. This has been another episode of Powered by Snowflake. And if you're interested in building your next application on Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. Thanks.